Okay, Nick and Andy, the Premier League's back this weekend after that brilliant international break, and we have a brilliant game to get us going again. The North London Derby, Arsenal against Spurs at the Emirates. Andy Edwards, I'm going to come to you first with your Spurs connections. Obviously, it's just interesting to me in terms of just breaking it down to one area. Set pieces, right? This seems to be pivotal because Arsenal score the most goals generally, but especially this season as well from set piece situations. But Spurs have only conceded twice from set pieces this season, as Thomas Frank has done some work on the training ground. We know how much he focuses on that. He did that at Brentford. And Spurs are the away day specialists as well in the Premier League. Just going to chuck that out there. Seems to suit them playing away from home. But I feel like everything kind of goes out the window when this game rolls into town. What are your thoughts, mate, with your Tottenham perspective?
Yeah, Frank has obviously done a fantastic job with that part of the game. How much Spurs struggled with it last couple of years under Ange. Well, I don't work on set pieces. We're not going to focus on it more. Thomas Frank has done so, and look what has happened to the defensive record for the team this year. They're still dropping points that are very, very frustrating in games, but they are in every game. And that in itself is, I think, a massive improvement from the majority of last season, especially. It is a bit annoying, though, that that's kind of taken away the complaint about Arsenal being set piece FC, and that they can't beat anybody without corner kicks and free kicks. That Spurs are one of the better teams in the league now as well. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be a ton of chances in this game because neither team, Arsenal, like you say, Joe, focusing on the set pieces, and then that's where they've undone a lot of teams this season. And Spurs just in possession, it's awful to watch right now. So yeah. Everything will go out the window, but I do think that just if you look at the two teams right now, and the not even the quality, but the confidence, I guess, that they have coming from the recent form,
Yeah. It's I did call this the set piece derby. I wrote a piece on Pro Soccer Talk and NBC, and it does feel right, Nick, that this is going to be small margins. And again, Arsenal, the injuries are piling up again. Been a pretty terrible international break with them. With Gabriel looks like he's gone down for a while. A few other players just struggling to get back to full fitness. I mean, we saw a few kind of cracks showing again that draw against Sunderland before the international break. So, what do you expect for them? Because there's so many questions, right? Who starts up top? How much are they going to miss Gabriel from set pieces as well? But the squad depth has been so crucial to them being top of the table at the start of the season, and I don't have any real concerns about Arsenal in terms of these players who are coming in that are going to step up and do a job. But it feels like in a derby, this could be a little bit different.
It could. I think the best part, if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan, you're excited because their variables are out the window. All the variables are in the window. It's all coming at you at once. You're coming back from the international break, which is always kind of wild. We don't know how teams are going to react, but the intensity levels will still be there. The injury situation for Arsenal, yes, a lot of guys are coming back, but they're coming back and playing their first game in a while if they're available. And as they shake the rust off, are they capable of playing beyond? Does Arteta know when to pull them off? Might that second half be something where he's got a couple of guys out there a little longer than they should have been? And obviously the Gabriel injury it just looms so large. Now Mascara's looked very, very good, I think, and maybe one of the best buys in terms of value-wise all summer. But I wouldn't want Arsenal next week. I wouldn't want them in 2 weeks. I wouldn't want them in 3 weeks. I mean, obviously more people can get hurt, but this is kind of the time to get them.
Yeah, it is, because I think you look at, Gyökeres obviously has been out, Madueke as well has been out, Martinelli now, Gabby Jesus is just like coming back, and he's been out for a long, long time. Yeah, and Havertz as well, and Odegaard, obviously he looks like he might
enough.
So again, the squad is huge and has stepped up really well to cope with all these absentees, but probably looking at Mikel Merino starting as out of position as an emergency striker again. And again, he can finish, but it's very interesting. I think you're right. I think it is a good time for Spurs to play Arsenal. In terms of that sort of mentality, Andy, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, Spurs are the best team away from home in the Premier League so far when it comes to points, goals scored, goals conceded, etc. So it seems like that underdog mentality kind of suits this team a little bit under Thomas Frank. And as you mentioned, sort of the way he sets them up doesn't rely on dominating the ball, but they have players who can really hurt opponents on the counter attack, and they do create a lot from set pieces as well. Not quite as much as Arsenal, but they're up there as well. So I feel like that draw against Man United before the break just summed up where we're at with Spurs at the moment. Very chaotic from one half to the next, disjointed, clunky, but there's potential here, right? You mentioned it earlier. They're going to stay in every game, and I think that suits them quite well, that unpredictability for this derby.
Yeah, they have a resiliency that I think has been missing in recent years. And I think if you look at some of the personalities of the coaches that they've had over the years, I think you can draw a pretty straight line between personality of the coach and the mentality of the team. They were very strong in those Pochettino years. Obviously, they didn't get over the ultimate hump at that time and win a trophy, but those were some of the, not just the best, but I think the toughest, the strongest, the most resilient Spurs teams that I've ever seen. And then they had this period the last 5 or 6 years where you literally had no clue what was going to happen when the first whistle blew, but until the last one. And they do, going away from home, they do look a lot stronger. The home form, if it could even be marginally decent, they could be in a really good spot so far right now. I will also push back just a tiny bit on the injury narrative. Nobody has missed more games this season due to injuries than Spurs, 33% more than Arsenal this season. And so, and it's kind of concentrated in the midfield and also center forward with Dominic Solanke barely playing at all this year. And so like neither of these teams are at full strength. And so it does kind of become about that resiliency game. And Arsenal have shown more of that this season. Certainly they've won some games late. They have just kind of grinded out results when they've had to do it. And that's been a knock on them in recent seasons, but that's also now a strength of Spurs, especially being away from home. And so, as I listened to Nick there talking about the variables and the unpredictabilities, I lean a little bit more towards Spurs in this one, I think now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, I think we all think Arsenal are the favourites for this, given their start to the season and the individual players that they have still available, even though some are missing. But yeah, I think Thomas Frank has added to Spurs what he needed to: the steely determination, focus defensively, organisation, and the rest of it will come. We've talked about it before, the playmakers that have been missing forwards for Spurs as well. Work in progress, obviously very early in his project there in North London, but on the other side of North London, Mikel Arteta, he's embraced the likes of Thomas Frank and other managers like that brilliantly, I think, over the last 12, 18 months to find those extra percentages and those extra small margins to try and get Arsenal over the line and get to winning the trophy. Nick, predictions-wise, mate, what are you going for with this one? Because I think, judging by this game in previous years, it could be absolutely anything.
Thomas Frank surprised Arsenal 2021, the first time they met. He is yet to defeat them again. And that's been quite a while with some very good Brentford teams. So I'm just going to go against my better judgment and say Arsenal will win 2-0.
2-0. Okay. I'm going to embrace the chaos and say another 2-2 draw. I think with Spurs, that's like a good bet at the moment. Again, I think that Man United game recently kind of showed us where they're at. I think they're dangerous going forward, and I think it's a good time to play Arsenal. And yeah, that's what I'm going for in this one. I feel like that's been a pretty common scoreline in this game over many years. Andy, what are you going for, mate?
I just can't see Spurs scoring at the moment. Just Arsenal's so solid defensively, and they don't take those risks that they don't need to, defensively. And sometimes just not trying to do too much is doing just the right amount. And so I think they have a very good understanding of the balance of risk and reward at this point of the season. And so I think it'll be a tight game because I don't think Arsenal are super great going forward either. They're going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to have the energy and the momentum and everything. But I do rate the Spurs team defensively. So I'll say 1-0 to Arsenal. But I don't know, I wouldn't be completely shocked if it's 0-0 either.
I see what you're doing there, Andy, trying the old reverse psychology thing too. It's okay. We understand. We've all been there as fans. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest on Arsenal and Spurs, how to watch, live analysis, reaction. We'll have you covered from what is always a big game, but feels particularly huge in the sort of narrative of where these two teams are heading over the next few months and how it sets up the rest of their season. So I'm really looking forward to Arsenal and Spurs this weekend.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long, and for even more Premier League content from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.